In the afternoon, 1:30 soon, on the banks of the River Nile. Hi everyone, welcome to another Alloutdoor1 video. Today I'm going to broach a subject which will probably be the cause of some debate, hopefully, and some arguments, I'm sure. But this is the topic of survival, the concept of survival versus the concept of bushcraft. I've been having discussions with many people in the bushcrafting and survival communities, not just in England but all over the world, via the excellence of the internet. It enables you to have these kind of global discussions, which I think is a great feature of the internet. So now let's talk about survival versus bushcraft. Some people that are hardcore into survival kind of look down upon bushcraft, whereas most bushcrafters will always be open and receptive to some of the concepts involved in survival. Now, to me, bushcraft is traditional and historical development of outdoor living and living off the land. In some ways, bushcraft, or in many ways even, bushcraft is culturally specific. For example, let's take a favourite bushcrafting topic, which is lighting a fire. Different parts of the world use different techniques to get their fires lit. Some parts of the world favour bow drill technique, friction fire lighting, rubbing sticks together. Other parts of the world would say that a better technique would be to use a polished block of ice to magnify the sun's rays sufficiently to ignite tinder. Other people would advocate different techniques, and even when it comes to fire lighting, using friction fire lighting, there are many tens if not hundreds of variations of fire lighting. For example, in places where bamboo is available, that would be used over your average wood, your average trees. Furthermore, to me, bushcraft is about living in balance with nature. Equally, it also means minimal dependency upon modern technologies. Obviously, these techniques have been developed throughout antiquity and have never been reliant on man-made products, except for maybe your most basic and primitive tools such as the knife and the axe and the saw. Now let's briefly turn to survival. Now, to me, survival is a term that I tend to associate more with the military. Military applications such as escape and evasion, combat, weapons training. Rather than having developed over time, these are techniques that have been invented in more recent history. To me, with survival, there's always an element of fighting against nature rather than trying to live alongside it. To some extent, survival is dependent upon technologies. So, in a way, it's less adaptable. Let's say a survival fire lighting technique would be you know, steel wool and a battery, which obviously are two things that you're not going to find abundant in a natural environment. Perhaps survival has more application in an urban or suburban context rather than in the wilds. Now, to me, bushcraft and survival are not mutually exclusive. I think anyone that spends time in the outdoors can learn a lot from either school of thought, and to some extent, as I said, they are complementary. People that advocate bushcraft over survival or survival over bushcraft, to me, are just limiting themselves, and therefore they are limited. I think it's also important to make a distinction between survival, i.e. survival techniques, versus survivalism, which is being prepared for, you know, a breakdown of world economies, food supplies, in lieu of natural disasters, etc. And that's a completely different kettle of fish, which I'm not trying to broach that subject in this debate. This is strictly survival versus bushcraft. So, in a conclusion to myself, so to speak, I'd say that if you're into survival and you completely block out bushcraft, then you're just, you know, cutting your nose to spite the face, so to speak. And similarly, if you're a bushcrafter and you completely dismiss the idea and concept of survival and survival techniques, then equally, you know, you're cutting your nose to spite your face. They are not mutually exclusive, as I said, and any keen outdoors person should have some awareness of both for a truly rounded knowledge of the outdoors. So the Pandora's box has been opened now. The debate is now open. I'm sure I'm going to get some fierce reactions from both sides, but nevertheless I'd be very interested to hear people's thoughts and opinions on the subject of bushcraft versus survival, regardless of which side of the fence you sit on, or whether, like me, you choose to sit in the middle and get the best of both worlds. So yeah, please leave your comments. I'll try not to answer as many as possible, and if it really comes down to it, let's have a little vote. Who votes for bushcraft? Who votes for survival? Let's see who is supreme. So this is Alloutdoor1, signing out for now. I'll be talking to you soon. Take care.